right, welcome everyone. I would love to see your faces right now, but my internet's doing a little bit of a funny thing, so I'm flying blind. But I apologize for missing last time. I'm very grateful that Dr. Wander Eugene was able to step in. This week, we are going over user scenarios, and we're also going to go over customer journey mapping. So really excited to do that with you all. How did it go last week? Did you have fun? I feel like the ideate phase is that phase where you start to really like get into the solutions and brainstorm and just let loose a little bit. Like we've held you back to focus on the problem. So I'm very curious to hear how it went last week. Anybody?
Yeah, I did it last.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. Go, Skylar.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Hi. Yeah, no, I try because my topic is kind of niche and it does usually require some sort of a little bit of knowledge about food. I found it difficult in order to do the ideate phase. I even reached out to friends and family and things like that after class, and they were all like, isn't that your job to figure that out? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, okay. So there is there was a little bit of difficulty, I guess, with regards to the ideate phase.
Yeah, and I think it's a little more challenging for you because you also have that idea that you're kind of coming in with to some degree. So it's not as like open to all the ideas and, you know, out there. Like you're not saying, oh, it could be a juice, it could be a, you know, a special focus hat or some sort of ridiculous, you know, like it wasn't brainstorming, just coming up with crazy solutions. You had a solution in mind, so then the brainstorming was a little more specific, if that makes sense, to different aspects of your
Yeah, no,
what
that's
you were
exact.
doing.
Yeah, I went backwards with it. So it was more of like making a sustainable confectionery food. It's like, well, how do you even define it sustainable is what like caught a lot of people. And so
Yep.
trying to even define that or having them define it was a whole thing. But it was fun. It was just I found it to be a little difficult.
It was just challenging. Yeah. Um, I can see that, and I do plan on hopping on. I know I'm a little behind on giving you guys feedback, but I do plan on hopping on and doing. Hang on, just my computer's back. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Hey, I'm in business. Excellent. So yeah, I feel like yours is going to need a little bit more of that niche stuff. I plan on hopping on everyone's boards, and I apologize for being a little behind on assignments. Some unexpected personal stuff has come up. So I will be spending time this week getting caught up and giving you guys feedback, hopping on your boards, giving you some crazy ideas, some not so crazy ideas, hopefully as well, and see if that can kind of spark anything. Paul, what about you? How did it go? What did you think of the ideation?
Yeah, I enjoy just getting just the perspective of others, how we all came in on the the notes section to just share different ways of how we can tackle an issue or just be like problem solving and put them all together. It allowed me to have process and marinating it. Then I had to even like put myself in like a check and balance pieces of like seeing where I want to go, but also just starting off like, you know what, let me just go with the tutoring piece and then scale up as like I get to the summer to prepare for like the next school year, so I can make this like a stable income where I want to transition to, where I have that flexibility to truly prepare from, in a sense, like be in the classroom and really focus on evenings. But it was really just nice when I'm like, okay, how I put this now in like systems management, systems planning to prepare myself, and allowing all the ideas to come together.
Nice. All right. Yeah, that's exciting to hear that all those ideas were able to come out and kind of getting them in one spot. All right, so today we are going to be digging into user personas and, or not user personas, and customer journey mapping. So we're going to have your user persona that really kind of started to define who your user and customer is and give them some depth and some, information and just on what you knew about them, and really stepping into their shoes during that empathy phase. And we're also going to take that like brainstorming board and the ideation and kind of some of those solutions, and we're going to bring them together. And we're going to bring them together in a way that's going to really show when that user would be interacting with your solution and what might be needed. So we're going to go through and kind of break it down step by step. So RJ, would you mind sharing the slides?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. If you go to the next slide, that'd be great. And just to let everyone know, we're going to be slowing things down just a little bit for this week and next week. So we might make some changes on the platform. But so you might see in there that there's the beginning of storyboarding. We're not going to do storyboarding today. We're going to save that for next week. We're going to save that for Wednesday. So just heads up there that there's a little tweaking that we might be doing, because we really want to give you time to understand these user scenarios and also your customer journey mapping. All right, so the empathy and define stages that we've been doing so far, we spent a lot of time on those. And so those will really be the base, and we're going to be speeding, even though I said we're slowing down, the ideate and prototyping stages of this program are faster. Why that is because they really build on that empathy and define stage, and we use those. If you've done those correctly, it will be very easy to move into these next sections. If you find yourself struggling, then we really want you to go back and look and say, like, did I put enough time into my empathy and define stage? And do I have the right problem? So when you start getting into kind of the solution area and the prototyping, if there is that kind of resistance, please go back and look and say what's going on. And if you need to reach out to us to kind of help you understand where maybe that resistance might be coming in, we're happy to talk through it with you. But this should sort of be that stage where things start to come together and they're fun and really lets you be creative and let loose a little bit. So if you run into problems, let us know. We can go back to some of those early kind of more, sometimes you can, I think a lot of people see them as more of grunt work, but they're really valuable stages. But this should really kind of pick up in speed in terms of just that fun creative time. All right, so the first thing we're talking about today are user scenarios. So a scenario is a workflow for one or more personas. Scenarios are minimally captured in written text form, but can also be conveyed orally as a storyboard or as a video. like any good story, a scenario begins with a motivation and involves steps towards the intended or unintended outcome. In design thinking, user scenarios maps to using these user scenario maps to rapidly prototype scenarios. From these, you can identify pain points and opportunities for design. So they should include that motivation, those goals, and the steps, and those. So it should be like where you see the pain points and what's going on. So you're putting a lot of these things that we've worked on already together to create a clear user scenario. So if you could go to the next one, RJ, next slide. So you're gonna capture this information and you're gonna make sure in the scenario map that you have the steps that your user needs to complete a task and the specific steps, and then what they're thinking during the step, and how you know some of those, what they're thinking and those motivations and those fears are from your interviews, are from looking at those past user personas. Really use the information that you've gathered so far when you're building out these scenarios. So you're also going to do like what your persona is saying during this, like each of the steps of the task, what they're feeling. So you really want to incorporate all that information so you can really build a complete scenario. By really understanding them, you can really connect with them and make sure that the scenario makes sense for that person. So you're going to be giving them a task and you want it to make sense for that person. And you want it to be, it's putting them into a real life scenario and how they come into contact with your solution. So there's kind of an arc, and you'll see that in the next slide. Okay, so I'm sure everyone has read books and watched movies and done all sorts of things like that, heard stories. And there's these natural sort of parts of every story. And this is a little bit of a silly example. You've got this guy with his phone's causing problems, and then like this little like dragony, demony thing pops out of it. So the exposition is that beginning, like you lay out the situation. The rising action is where it like starts to heat up a little bit. So the rising action, this like thing pops out of his phone, and then it grabs him and starts to strangle him. I did not put this slide together, but I do think he's kind of cute. And so that's the climax where things get like really crazy and just kind of out of control. And you're like, oh my God, this is kind of that moment in the movie where you're like, you know, it's the intense moment, what's going to happen. And then on the other side of the climax is like where that like that solution kind of the resolution starts to happen. So he turns into some superhero, and then the story plays out, and there's that falling action, and there's the denouement, or whatever, I think that's how you say it from those English days. But that's really, and that's actually a word that's related to, I think in Latin, it's untying the knot. So it's all those little knots and story pieces, and they all resolve at that point. So there's this, so we start at the beginning, we go up in action, and there's a solution, and then we go down, and then there's a resolution of all the pieces. So stories tend to have that narrative structure that looks a lot like a pyramid, and it has the 5 parts, and leading to that like final suspense and resolution, and then the conclusion. So your user scenarios are going to have this sort of this arc as well. And when we dive further into that arc on the next slide, there we are. Okay. see that we're going to start our user scenarios with who the user is. And this is really important to say who the user is, because the story progresses a lot differently if you have like a little kid versus an old lady. So you want your user and your user scenario to be the user that you focus on with your user persona. So it should be that main primary user. You can do other versions of user scenarios with your different users. But today we want you in class, when we do the exercise, you're just going to focus on that main one. So you have your person who we've already worked on defining and figuring them out. And then we make sure that we have the setting and the goal. And so that's the motivation. So the first part is the background. So who are your users, including their knowledge base and skill set? And then we have the motivation. So what goals do they want to achieve? Then the task. So what must they do to reach those goals? And the context of use is how they'll encounter your design. So where will they be, the challenges that they're facing. So you'll see the why would they be looking for it, like if we're doing a user scenario, there's that user, then their motivations. Why are they kind of looking for a solution like yours? What are they struggling with? What's the crisis at hand? And the crisis doesn't have to be something like wild, right? It can be something that is just finding that solution. And then you're going to do that resolution. So they find the solution, and then they go all the way down to that end where things are resolved. The problem is taken away. So we want to do this for your user scenarios. So we're going to break it down into, and also what this is going to lead into is we're going to next time make storyboards where it's like a picture, and pictures are worth 1,000 words. So we're going to represent sort of this journey of theirs in a story, like a little comic. And so you'll go through and we'll do that. But this is going to help us get to that point. So, all right, let's go on to the next one, RJ, if you don't mind. Okay, so how to write a user scenario. We're going to have the user personas. That's the definition of the target user. So once again, who are your users, what their knowledge base is, what their skill sets, the contents to be analyzed, so the different goals and tasks at hand. So what do they want to achieve? What do they have to do to reach those goals? And then the possibility and problems. So you want to think about the paths and the friction points when you're doing your user scenario as well. Okay, so we're going to read about Pete.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Sorry.
What was that, RJ?
Oh no, go ahead. My scroll kind of went off on its own and I kind of freaked out. I forgot I wasn't on mute. Go ahead.
That's okay. Okay. So, and I'm going to ask you guys to break this down. So you're going to, once I finish reading this, you're going to tell me like who the user is, what their motivation is, what his task is, all that stuff. So, and be thinking of that when I read two big long slides. Okay. So Pete Holler, 32 and single, works for the corporate communication department of Daimler Chrysler. He loved it in the beginning, but his job is no longer a challenge for him. However, he is scared to reorient because his status and financial security is very important to him. Pete is very organized and can't stand chaos or inconvenience. In his free time, he reads a lot of books. Books help him to keep his mind busy, and especially professional literature offers him the challenges that he misses at work. The last couple of weeks, Pete's really been into medical books. Because of a family history, he's especially interested in kidney diseases. Pete is the life of the party. Oh, sorry, I just added that. Okay, so then if we go to the next slide, Pete is looking for an easy to read book for non-professionals that explains different kidney diseases, including symptoms, methods of treatment, and possible long-term effects. He does not want to spend more than $30, and if available, he prefers used books to save money. He visits Amazon.com to find the right book. Pete is handy with computers, but since working with them all day long, he wants to use them as little as possible when he's at home. Convenience is very important for Pete. He knows exactly what he wants, and he expects to quickly find several options that he can choose from. He does not expect to pay the payment process to be difficult or the shipping process to take longer than 2 days. Pete likes to read expert statements and short, I don't know, reviews from other users to find out which book is the right one. Pete is used to going to his local book dealer. He enjoys walking through town after work to pick up his purchases. Lately, a friend has recommended Amazon.com to him. His friend was very enthusiastic about all the features of Amazon that Amazon offers, and above all, how convenient it works. This made Pete curious, and he wanted to try it out. He also sees the advantages of going home directly after work. And even if he likes going to the bookstore, ordering his books from his desk at home is way more convenient. He wants to try and order his next book online. All right, so RJ, can you take us back to the story one with the different parts? The green little arcs. There we go. Okay. So what did we learn about Pete? Tell me about his character. Who is he as a person?
I would say he likes convenience.
Yep. Anybody else? What's the basic information about him? How do we know?
He likes to read books, and it seems like he spends a lot of time doing it.
Yep. Actually, RJ, maybe it's easier if everyone can see the story so they can reference it. So let's go to the first slide of the story. There. Oh, next. There. Wild and crazy night. Okay, we'll get there. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so what else do we know about Pete?
Very organized, doesn't like a lot of chaos.
Yep.
He's looking to change careers because his job is really no longer challenging for him, but he's also on defense because he doesn't want his status and appearance to change, or his status and finances to change.
Yep. All right.
With
So
that, I would say, with that part, I would say that I take from that he likes the comfortability of where his life is right now. And that's the part that he doesn't want to change. And so I feel like that's why the financial security is major for him, because he likes where he is and he doesn't want to have to start all over.
Yep. So we're starting to really, we're really getting into his goals and motivations, which is great. So we're setting the scene of who we're dealing with here. So we're starting to get a good idea of who Pete is. So what is the inciting incident? Like, what has happened that has triggered him into action?
Kind of like the excitement of the literature review. He's been kind of like rabbit holing and trying to understand more of like his, like the last sentence says like his family history with regards to kidney disease. So it's kind of like a source of inspiration to continue to do research.
Yep. And then what else? What what's happening at work that's making him,
He
Yeah,
has a
well,
bunch of free
well.
time.
what was that, Scott?
I said that he basically just has more free time because he doesn't have to put as much effort into the work he does.
Right. Sounds like he's pretty bored to me at work and not really being utilized fully. All right. So what are his struggles? I mean, I guess I just kind of talked about it a little bit, but what are Pete's struggles?
Maybe
And
he's
can we
not
go to the next slide too,
recognized.
Virgil? Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Linda, what else do we have? What are his struggles around? What's he trying to find, and what's the struggle of what he's trying to do? He's trying to find a book, right? He's trying to find some books. So
A
this is
cheaper
not
book.
like, this is, what was that, Renard?
I said a cheaper book.
Yeah, a cheap book, yes. So specifically, he wants a cheap book, and he wants a physical book, right? He doesn't want something that's an online thing because he sits at the computer all day. So, all right. So that is his kind of his crisis that he's facing, is that he needs. So, like I said, the crisis, that top point, it doesn't have to be crazy, but what's sort of the resolution that comes along? So he's looking for a book. He wants something cheap. He wants a physical book. What comes along for Pete?
His friend recommends Amazon.
That's right. So up at the top of that little thing, we've got his friend coming in and recommending Amazon. And then and then we kind of just follow that resolution. Like, you know, we can imagine that the book comes within a certain amount of time, you know, the 2-day shipping, all those great things. And we have Pete with a solution, and he's resolved, right? Here his book is, he's occupied, he's now got something that, you know, maybe on kidney diseases. So he's, you know, his struggle has been resolved, and it's been resolved through Amazon. He did make some compromises there, right? Because he likes to do that walking every night, and he likes to go to the physical bookstore, but he was willing to let go of that for the better solution. So that's an important thing, is that you want to be giving your user the best solution, the solution that they will actually pick. Because we all have been in situations where we pick things that, you know, if we don't have a solution, if we don't have the first solution, we figure out another solution, right? Like if you don't have scissors and you've got to cut a tag off of something, what do you do? What does anybody do? Diana, what do you do when you don't have scissors and you got to cut a tag off, and it's like the kind that like hurts your fingers to pull it off apart?
I was gonna say use my teeth if I
You
have
suck,
to.
you suck it in.
I love it.
Grab a knife.
You grab a knife. I grab my fingernail clippers and I clip the thing. So there's all sorts of solutions out there to problems that we will find. People are very good at finding solutions. So we need to make sure that your user, when they're in this scenario, that they want and that they go to your solution. So that's kind of an important part of this. All right. So next slide, please, RJ. So we are gonna kind of have fun together and play a little game, a little storytelling collaborative game. Have you guys heard about this story about like Once Upon a Time? You know this, where you like everyone says a line of the story.
Yeah.
Do other people know this game? Okay, I see some head shakes, so I'm gonna explain it.
No, I'm
So
not
what happens
familiar.
is, okay, so we're gonna have RJ start us off in a minute, and she's going to say one sentence. And so she's going to say, once upon a time, and then she's gonna set the scene with who our user is, right? Or a little piece of them. And then we're gonna go around the room. Each person is going to say a sentence. And the trick is, by the end of this story, by the end of going around the room, we must have all the pieces that need to be in our user scenario. So, you know, someone can mention what's driving them, their motivation, the specific task, the information regarding the income and their spending, a path of completion, points of friction. So, are you ready? RJ, you're gonna
Ready.
kick us off. Last time I had to do this and I came up with a horrible user. So let's see what RJ has. Go for it.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was a single mother looking for basketball training for her child.
Okay. Linda,
So
you want
she
to do the next
went
one?
to several different gyms and organizations to try to find a slot that was open.
Okay. Nice. Paul, you're next on my screen.
Okay, so I was getting that piece. So Linda shared, what was that last piece? I was taking down the notes.
So Linda, do you want to say your sentence again?
I said that she started going to different gyms and other organizations that might possibly have a slot that she could get her child into.
Linda was proposed, or Linda viewed her budget to spend $60 per week for her son.
Okay. We got some budget information in there. Diana, you're next.
You want me to add on to it? I'm sorry, I jumped in on the class late.
Yeah. So
Am
just
I
keep
adding
the
a
story
solution?
going.
Okay. Am I
So
adding a
one of the
solution
things that
or?
we haven't done so far. So you can explain more about the situation that's driving her to seek this, because we haven't
Okay.
gone into that too much. Or a specific goal that she has in mind that's part of it, or you her any of those.
I guess, I don't know, I'm sorry. My mind just went blank.
So let me catch you up. So it's a single mother looking for basketball training for her child. She has visited various gyms and organizations to find an opening and has budgeted $60 a week towards this. So now you come in.
I budget $60 a week, and I don't know, I guess her goal is to take him 3 times a week.
Okay. Tara, keep adding to the story.
the driving force behind her looking for a basketball aftercare, I'm calling it, is because she has to work and she can't really find a sitter, so it's more convenient for her to put him in a camp.
All right, that's good motivation. Elizabeth, start to bring us home.
Okay, so am I providing the solution?
You can, or the steps that, what's the next thing she does? Where does she go?
Let me just go back real quick.
You can start to provide the solution.
It's okay. She didn't find a place yet, right? We're still at the state where she's looking because she has to work, and so she wants to put the child in a camp. That's where we left off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She has a deadline of, well, her new hours start in 2 weeks. So she has to find this camp in 2 weeks. No, that's not the way I want to take it. Ooh, I make things so much harder.
Well, it's one
I have a hard time with these two. Like RJ is like the pro here. She's like, I got this storytelling. You wanna? Don't worry.
So I was gonna say, I got it. Okay. So she has to start in 2 weeks. Well, forget the 2 weeks thing. To add on to that, she has a family member that can pick the youth up and bring them home after camp.
Okay.
It's a friction of stress and daily life.
Ashley, did you go already?
No.
Right?
Another reason why she wanted him to be in basketball is because that's his favorite sport, and she's trying to find something to motivate him in school.
All right, Skylar, you are gonna have to wrap this baby up.
All right. What's the mom's name? Did we ever give her a name?
Paul did. Paul named
So
her
Linda. So Linda's her name. Linda is current. So Linda scours the internet on her lunch breaks to find any of these camps, and she just wishes there was an easier way to find local basketball camps within her budget.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say Linda finds a basketball camp that is part of an after-school program, and she and it checks all the boxes. It is just very easy. It's close by. It's local. And RJ, give us our final sentence to end our story. Resolve the whole thing for us.
Okay. Linda finds kids basketball camp USA that picks the child up from school, is in her budget, and stays open long enough for her or her family member to pick him up when she gets off work.
Excellent. So we have like all these problems, all these things that she's dealing with. We get to know who she is, what her motivations are, what kind of the crisis is. And then by the end, all of those things are resolved. Does that make sense? What a user scenario, sort of what that process is going to look like? Because we are about to do 15 minutes where you guys go into breakout rooms and work on your user scenario. So, any questions about user scenarios? Anybody? All right. So RJ, do you want to go ahead and open up breakout rooms for us, please? And I think let's do 4. Let's do 2 people. I mean, sorry, not 2 people. 2 breakout rooms, 4 people each. And we'll give everyone about 15 minutes. So most of this time, you should just be working individually to create your scenario, but then use like 1 minute to share it towards the end. So spend most of the time as a working time where you're trying to figure it out, and then share it at the very end. And then we're gonna come back together and share them. So RJ, you wanna? Oh, you're muted, RJ.
I'm on it.
Okay, awesome. Oh. So remember, you can use your user that you came up with your user persona. And you can use that information that you gathered during those user interviews and the tasks that you heard them say that they needed to achieve, all that, use that to your benefit.
Okay. Everyone should be able to.
All right. Great. RJ, do you want to pause our recording? Thank you. All right. How did that go, everybody? How was how did it go in your room, Linda?
Pretty good, pretty good. There was a couple that didn't get a chance to expose, well, you know, say what they wanted their person to do. But,
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna have Diana share hers. And then anyone who didn't get a chance to go in the other room, I'd love for you to share yours. But the reason why I really want Diana to share hers is I think she does an awesome job of really explaining the motivations of the person and also why her solution is the best solution for them. So Diana, could you mind sharing, please?
Of course. Am I unmuted? Yes. Okay. Okay. So Francine lives in New York and travels to Miami for business often. While in Miami, it is often difficult for her to make time to go to a salon to maintain her professional appearance. Therefore, she has her executive assistant book her concierge hair appointments for every day during her entire trip. She has business engagements. Typically, her hairdresser arrives to blow dry and style her hair within 45 minutes to an hour, which gives her time to go over some notes and etc. In the end, she saves time and is ready for her driver to pick her up to get her to her meetings.
All right, awesome job, Diana. So you guys see how she kind of incorporated the motivations and then why it's a really good solution as well. So if you didn't include kind of why it's the best solution for your person, then please try to add that in. All right. Who didn't get to go in the other room, and would you like to go now? We'd love to hear.
Reynard or Ashley?
Okay, I'll go. Let me pull one up. Okay, so I have lovely lady is a first-time mom who never has had to put her child in a child care facility. She works for corporate as an operations manager for TD Bank. Hunter has been staying home with Lovely, his mom, while she's at work because he was a newborn. Lovely's mom is normally her backup plan when she has to go into the office. Lovely lady's husband, aka the baby daddy, works for the city, so he is not able to help with the baby during the day. Hunter is getting older and getting into more nowadays, and she realizes he may need some structure and playmates. Lovely starts looking for centers online based on licensed facilities, curriculums, and classroom sizes. Lovely is also concerned about quality because she wants her child to learn and also be safe. Lovely has went through reviews and has made an interview with FWW. They have great reviews. They are 5 minutes away. They have parent involvement activities, and their inspection reports are nearly perfect.
Yay, that was great.
That was really good.
And Ashley, when we do this next part, I'm going to bring that up again because you did a really good job, like thinking through that investigative phase, like what she's looking for, what her goals are. You really like thought about the pieces of information that she would need, and that's exactly the kind of stuff that we're going to be putting into those customer journey maps. So hold tight to all that because it's going to come in handy very soon. Reynard, would you mind sharing with us?
Sure. So Brandon was looking through his whole book one day and started to remember the days of him being in shape and the sports he used to play. He's now 36 and feeling like his best days are behind him. While driving home from work, he sees some kids on the field playing soccer and football. How he loved to join them. But he's now married with 3 kids, working 50 hours a week. Plus, he doesn't want to. Plus, he doesn't want to go out and embarrass himself with trying to keep up with the young kids. So that night, he Googles personal training and comes across this company called Universal Augmented Training. One can do alone without the hassle of equipment or personal training.
Nice. I really felt like the emotions of him, like I don't want to embarrass myself. That was like, but also he really wants to be doing it and like in it again, and he probably doesn't have the equipment. So I feel like it was it definitely led him to the solution. So awesome job there. All right. So one of the things that we can do with these user scenarios and also with the storyboarding that we'll do next week is we will use them to kind of continue that conversation with with the people that you've interviewed or with potential customers. And they should be able to identify themselves in kind of your story. They should be able to say, yes, that is, I can see myself being, in that similar situation, and that's how I feel. And they can come in, that's not what's going on with me. And it might be that they're just a different customer segment, or it might be that you missed the mark a little bit and you can get more information from them. So we want you to continue those conversations and continue refining, because you want it to resonate with your customers. So you want these user scenarios to be something that's a scenario that they could imagine themselves in. And also the storyboarding when we get to that part on Wednesday, when they see the little like comic strip of the story, we want them to be able to be like, yep, I totally have felt that. That really resonates. So we're going to use this to really make sure it starts getting into prototyping a little bit. It's ideate and prototype, because we get to see how this plays out. It's a in your solution, right? Of sharing the story and the solution. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is customer. We'll just kind of introduce it. It's about 2 minutes long.
Sorry, but it keeps cutting out, so I can't really make out what you're saying. I don't know if it's just on my screen or what.
No, it's not. I can't. It's cutting out for me too.
So you probably want to recap and go back to like prototype when you were talking about the
Yeah, that's fine. Can you guys hear me now better? I switched off my phone and turned just on the computer audio. Does that work better?
much better.
Yes.
That's way better.
Okay. So what we're going to be doing with these user scenarios, sorry about that, you guys, is we're going to be using them kind of as one of those, that first level basic prototype. So it goes in between ideate and prototyping, because when you show it to someone, you can, and you continue those conversations with the people that are your potential customers, they can tell you if it resonates with them and if the solution would work for them, right? So this is a really simple way of continuing the conversation. And if it doesn't work for them, or if there's some part of the story that's not resonating with them, you can dive into that and you can figure that out and you can make it better. So either, and making it better, it might be that you just need to factor in some new information, but it could be that maybe they're a different customer segment, so you need to do another user scenario for that type of user, because you can have different user scenarios. So anyway, so we will use these to continue those conversations, and it will also tie into the storyboarding, where we'll have the pictorial representation, kind of those little comic strips of, of that journey to show people and see if it resonates with them as well. So the next part of this is that we're going to go into customer journey mapping. This is like one of my favorite things to do in business. I can nerd out on these. So if I get too crazy, you guys, got to tell me. But RJ, would you mind playing the video for us that kind of introduces it? RJ, you gotta unmute yourself for the sound to work.
I forget about that every time. All right, let's run it back. Can you see the video?
We can see it, yes.
All right.
Journey mapping 101. What is a journey map? Well, first, I'm going to use 2 words, user journey map and customer journey map, throughout this video. They mean the same thing. It is a visualization that tells a narrative of the end user trying to accomplish a specific task or goal as it pertains to your company. Now, we know all journey maps look different, but the best part is the same 5 underlying components are in all of them. And the first is the actor. This is the main star of the journey you're mapping. And then second, we're going to breathe life into the actor with the scenario and expectations. Now, the scenario is what they're trying to accomplish, and their expectations are what they expect as they try to accomplish that thing or task. And then we have journey phases. Now, this is number 3. These are high-level, meaningful chunks of information that tell that high-level narrative of what your user is doing. And then the meat of the journey map is number 4. And these are our actions, mindsets, and emotions. These are exactly what I just said. They are the actions the user is taking, the mindsets as they take them, and then the emotional side effects. So are they frustrated, excited, And then the last but most important component are these insights and opportunities. And I like to put these at the bottom of my journey maps. These are the takeaways. What was learned from journey mapping? Where are there gaps? Where are there financial gains? What can we tell anyone looking at this map of things we need to do? I'm going to sound like a broken record, but customer journey maps have two huge benefits, as does any qualitative process I talk about. The first being the benefits from doing it with others. You create that shared language, that shared understanding, the same mental model of what your end user is doing. Now, done well, that process then creates this artifact, and that's the second benefit. With this artifact, you can convince stakeholders, you could show other departments, and hopefully your goal being that those insights and opportunities drive positive change.
All right, thank you, RJ. So if we could share a slide. So you probably noticed that a lot of the components of the journey, the journey map are the same as in the user scenario, but there's some important differences. So the chunking of task and like the phases. So you'll see here in this example that there's the consideration and the exploring, and then the comparing and the testing, and then the negotiating. So these are different phases of what they're trying to accomplish. So, and there's also some details in here. So consider, they're thinking takes about 1 week, explore about 2 months, compare 1 month. So he is shopping for a new car. So this is his journey. And then we of course have to ask who it is. So this is Eric, and Eric is an emotional car buyer. He purchases based on aesthetic and status. The scenario is that Eric recently moved to the area. He's shopping for a car that's fun to drive and dependable enough to use for everyday commuting. He expects, and this is something that's a little different than the user scenarios, we really want to call out those expectations. The ability to compare cars and their breakdowns, good photography with close-ups, inside and out, and a video overview of the car with demonstrations. Okay, so in that first phase, it's showing us actually which device he's going to use. So he's going to use his phone to do the considering. So he sees a TV commercial for a website, which helps people shop for vehicles. He visits the website and he sees an ad on Facebook. So this little squiggly line down at the bottom, can you guys hear me? Am I here? Okay. This little squiggly line down at the bottom is his like emotional roller coaster, right? So the highs are when he's feeling good, the lows are when he's feeling bad. And so you can see that there's like these ups and downs throughout the process. So when he's considering, he's like, wow, that website looks great for car shopping. So there's some excitement there, right? So he's feeling good. And then he goes and looks at the website, and then he's like, the website looks much different from the commercial. So that's a downer. And then he's going to move into this explore phase. So the specific tasks are he's going to explore the site and look at all the vehicles in his budget. He's going to create an account. He's going to save his favorite cars in a wish list. He's going to download a mobile app while he's at his office. So you can see we're being very specific here about the task that he's trying to do in this phase of his journey. And so he's kind of coming up on the emotional. So I like that I can save cars as a list, and it's automatically that the list is automatically made, but he's disappointed by the quality of some of the listings. There's very few photos. So it's kind of a mixed bag for him. Then we head into, and then it continues falling down. This app is missing a lot of features. So then we're heading into the compare. So he's gonna use his computer for this one. He's gonna read consumer reports and reviews. He's gonna keep a spreadsheet so he can compare all the cars. He's gonna consult with trusted individuals. He's gonna constantly check the site for new options that meet his criteria. So here we do a little bit of like spinning. So I might miss the perfect car if I don't check the site multiple times. So he's like looping, he keeps checking. And then he continues to kind of sink low in this process. It's difficult to narrow down options and to parse through the competing resources. I have to use a spreadsheet. So that's a little like frustrating and annoying probably. So then the next part of his process is the test. So they've given it about 2 weeks. He's going to use his phone and his computer. So he's going to select a set of cars that he plans to test drive. He's going to look up the locations of the dealerships on Google Maps. He's going to visit those, fill out the lead car, discuss the process, do all those things. And he's going to discover that he can take notes about each car he drives in the app. So this is, so he's like, you know, as he's doing this, he's like, I wish all the car dealerships were shown on a single map so I can plan my route. And then, and he's, you know, his emotions are getting a little better, but he's still kind of down. Why does it take so long to test drive a car? I wish I knew what is going to, it was going to be procedural and salesy. But then when he finds those notes about the car and the apps, he's like, it's so helpful. And then we get to this final stage of negotiate. And the reason why I'm going through all of these points, you guys, is just so you can see the level of detail and the different pieces of this all interplaying. So negotiate phase is 1 week. It's on a computer. He decides on a car. He gets financing terms, the price, the monthly payment. He's going to research more and he's going to make competing offers. So at this part, he's like, I wonder if I can get a better deal. And then he's so happy with his new car at the end of it. So we can see sort of the whole journey. Does this make sense to everyone why this is a customer journey map and how this kind of works together, the different pieces of it, the phases, the different tasks, the devices, the emotional journey, the quotes that relate? Is this making sense to everyone?
Sure.
Okay. And of course we have up at the top those, you know, the information about who he is and what he's expecting. So there's a variety of different ways that we can do customer journey maps. And so we'll show you some different ones in just a second. But the more that you can envision what your user is going through, the more you can think about how to speak to them at each step and build a solution to meet them where they're at. It's about meeting your user where they are and giving them what they need. So I'm going to give you guys a quick example of someone not really understanding the emotional journey of a customer. So do you guys know what probate attorneys are? And okay, so yeah, so for those of you who don't, there was this probate attorney who had a billboard that said, "We represent deadpeople.com." Right? And they thought they were being kind of catchy. They thought they were being kind of funny. But had they done a customer journey map, they probably would have realized that the people who are looking for a probate attorney are probably not in the mood to be catchy or funny about the person that they just lost, right? And so they need to meet them where they're at. They need to understand the emotions that their customer is going through at the time. What does their world look like at each step? And how do you relate to them? How do you build that solution? And so a good solution isn't just about the functionality and the benefits. It's about meeting them where they are and giving them what they need for that moment in terms of tasks, like helping them with the task and the emotional needs as well. Okay, so RJ, let's see the next one, if you don't mind. Okay, so this is a little bit of a different layout, but it still has a lot of the same things. So we have the different stages. We have the motivation, searches for websites, browses the sites, evaluates products, pays. So once again, we're looking at the chunks, and then there's the activities in this one, or the tasks, and what they're trying to accomplish. And then we have those feelings, once again, kind of the up and down of the emotions. This has like the green big happy face, the orange medium happy face, and the very angry, sad looking red face. And then the experiences throughout, like what experience they feel. And then the customer expectations. So I'm not going to read this one like I did last time, but this is one for an online shopping customer. So you can kind of get an idea of what they're doing, how this process plays out. And it's really the wonderful thing about this is that with these maps, you start to identify areas that you can design around. You can make sure that you are creating something that helps them with those tasks, that you're giving them the information that they need for those tasks, that you're talking to them in a way that matches their emotions. Or if you can take something that's a bad moment in the process and turning it into something good, that's really helpful. So these are wonderful moments to really look for opportunities to design around. I feel like I'm doing a ton of talking, and I'm worried everyone's spacing out, especially because I have a bunch of little black boxes. So I want to check in with everyone. How are we doing?
I think you're doing a good job explaining it. I mean, obviously it does require a little bit of talking, but I think that the story time, that's like an inevitable process, but it's crazy, in my opinion, that people go to like this extent to kind of understand their consumer. But I can understand how important it is, because it's like you want to make sure that they are getting the most value possible out of your product.
Yep. Yeah. So, and it really does, like, one of the things about these maps too is people can leave at any point in this process if they get unhappy enough, right? They can be like, all right, I'm searching for a website and I can't find it. And so they just get frustrated and they're gone. Or, so it is important because you can see where you can lose people as well in the process. So there's a lot of benefits of doing this. It is, for someone who hasn't done it or hasn't seen this level of like attention, it can seem really kind of crazy, but is very helpful as a tool. RJ, yes.
And I was gonna say, most important is the investment in your business model. This really helps you to be comfortable about what you're about to invest in, because the worst thing is having an idea, feeling really confident about your idea, investing tens of thousands of dollars into the idea, and then losing it all. So these processes really help you to really understand the value you bring and ensuring that it's going to get you the return you're looking for, opposed to just, taking a shot in the dark and increasing those chances of losing everything.
Yeah, that's a good point, RJ. And, we also want to do it, in order to, just to make sure that you're taking advantage of all those little opportunities here and there, and that you really make the best solution. And this is a really detailed way to look for those opportunities. So can we show the next one?
I have something to say also.
Yeah, Ashley.
So what I've realized as I started doing my interviews, some of the things that my parents have wanted from me, I didn't even know that I should even be marketing. Like when I mentioned the inspection report from DCF, I didn't know, because they want to make sure that it's a safe environment for their children. And what better place to go than the DCF reports to be able to pull that up, to show them how we're scoring, what we're doing in the classrooms, how we're scoring with those government assisted programs that come in and score our classrooms. And now that is something that I bring up when I have families come through for tours. So I've already started to kind of change my model of how I approach my families when they're coming, so they know upfront what we have to offer versus waiting on them to tell me, this is what they're looking for. I kind of give them certain things up front, and then I ask them, do they have any questions? And it's like, well, you covered everything. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for curriculums. I was looking for this. I was looking for that. And I mean, I just want to make sure my child is in a safe environment that gives quality, care in their learning. So that's something that's important that I didn't realize until we started kind of diving into everything and really getting down to the root of it.
Yep, that's awesome, Ashley. And that's exactly like the kinds of things that we're talking about so first of all, I love that you use your customer interviews to dive into some of this and learn about these different stages of what they're going through and what they're feeling and what they want to know. That's huge, because that told us something that was outside of what your perspective was and was new information for you. And then you were able to kind of figure out where it slotted into the process, and you've now added that information. So that's exactly why these pulling the customer interviews into this kind of a model, and then designing how am I going to give them that information? And by having it already available, it increases your credibility, I think, because you already know that that's what they care about, and you've already got the answer, and you're already thinking about it. It just there's an emotional component too of oh, I'm taken care of, they've already answered all my questions. So that's a really nice way of being able to move the needle on the emotional stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Ashley. So we're going to keep digging into all the different pieces of the process and keep coming up with ideas and brainstorming for each one, so we can find those opportunities and we can really improve that customer experience. So here's another one: different stages. Instead of activities or tasks, this one says steps, this one says thoughts, touch points, actions. Once again, a little emotional up and down. So many ways to do this. And this kind of, for the actions, I think this one's tying more into if you have multiple people on your team and who they might be in touch with and who they might talk to and how they might talk to them, if it's through chat or if it's through phone or whatever. So there's different ways and different components you can add in that you'll want to add in depending on what your business structure is and what is important for your business. But the basics are still in here. Those chunks of the stages, the specific task under each one, the emotional roller coaster, the thoughts, the expectations, those should definitely be in there. All right, next one. Okay, so this one is my favorite one, and I had this one added into the slide. So this is the phases are in that middle circle. So the before, during, and after. And these are the different activities for each one. So the during, so this is this is a flight to New York City. So during, it's the board of plane, safety procedures, takeoff, seating, or are they wide, comfy seats? And this one shows these opportunities for giving extra information, or when it's a make or break moment. So as you can probably imagine, as you've gone through different things, there are make or break moments in your customer experiences in life. If a line is just if it's going through the entire store, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave my cart and I'm going to be out of there. I'm not going to wait. So there are these make or break moments. So it's kind of a fun thing to think through those too. All right. So I want to do this next exercise really quickly. And I want to think through because the last 20 minutes of class today, we're going to let you work on starting your own and breakouts. But I want to go through together and Georgia, can you go to the next slide? Do you mind? Okay, so what we're going to do before we go to the Miro template is that we're going to quickly just verbally talk through a day at the amusement park, the experience. So what are some of the chunks of things related to a day at the amusement park? Let's say it's a day at Disney.
Weather.
So that's a piece of information that's important, but is that a phase of the customer experience?
Would it be like the initial driving like up into the park where you have to get your tickets, that long line that's normally there?
So there could be, yeah, that's a great, so there could be that consideration first stage, right? Where you're exploring what there is. And then there's that like getting to the park, like getting just into the park. So driving there, doing all those things. What are some of the tasks involved in that? I heard you say ticket line.
You're getting a ticket, paying to get in, getting a ticket, then you have to find somewhere to park. And then of course, pay attention to where you park so you won't get lost when you come out. And then getting on the catamaran if you're parked really far, and walking up to pay for the park, going in, and then getting a hold of your kids because they're probably going to be going crazy.
So is this a fun part of the experience usually? Like where are we emotionally?
Oh, I'm back. No, normally this is kind of like a stressful part where you're trying to stay calm because the kids are anticipating so much. So you're trying to like go through all the steps to make sure all the logistics are done. And then, you get to the fun part.
Okay, so what I love about the different tasks that you laid out is that all of those could be opportunities to design around, right? So you were like, oh, you could forget where your car was. And that's an opportunity. You could have you could design a solution that helps people remember where their cars are. Whether it's like, oh, you parked in the dolphin lot, or it'd be something totally different than that. But there's different solutions or the little like tram that takes you in so you don't have to walk as much. Lots of solutions that could address each of those little points of the customer journey. So that was awesome, Chatara. Okay, what about once we get inside? What happens when we get in an amusement park? What's some pieces of that story?
If you were hydrated prior, where you can get something to eat or drink, so nourishment. Bathroom is a usage. And then lastly, whatever you like to do during the park. Is that just roaming around, getting on rides? If you like to anticipate the food piece, like you just make that decision of where you want to go.
Yep. So I feel like you just brought up, you kind of hinted at something really important, which is who is your user? We failed to mention who our user was at the beginning. So we don't know if it's a mom with lots of kids, young kids, or if it's an older person. And that's going to affect how they experience the journey. So and it's also going to affect the solutions. So waiting in a long line at amusement park. This is not usually the highlight of everyone's trip, correct? Like no one loves waiting in that long line. But if you go to Legoland, as you're waiting in the line, they have these like Lego displays, and the kids can like play with the Legos. And so they sit there and they're playing while they're waiting in line. But is that a solution that's going to work for like a 70-year-old woman who's waiting in line? No, she's probably going to want a chair or something that she could sit on. Like, that's not going to be a great solution for her to like be like, oh, I can spend my time in line playing with the Legos. Maybe she's an awesome Lego builder. I don't know. But so you really want to think through your person. So make sure that you're looking at what their emotions are, what they're trying to get done, and really mapping out the phases. So we are another thing that we can do is we can go use Miro. Miro has and RJ, will you share this really quickly? They have a customer journey template that you can use. And so if you just, once you log in, you can pick from the templates, you can do show all, and it'll say customer journey map. You can use that, or you can do it on a piece of paper. You can do it however you want. But we're going to go into breakouts for the next like 15, 17 minutes or so. We'll bring you back right at the end. And you're going to start working on your customer journey map for your product, and really use the information that you learned in your interviews. Use that information that you know from working with people over the years. You really like think through your solution in the different phases. So here's the Miro board. If you want to use it, you know, you guys know how to do the sticky notes at this point. So you can use, I would say, make your own, but you can play around with one that RJ shared if you want. But we are going to have you go through, build those chunks, build the task, build the emotional journey, the roller coaster, and you can even give them little quotes. So is everyone clear before we go into breakouts what we're going to be working on here for the next 15 minutes? And this will be your homework for this week, is to turn in a customer journey map. Everybody clear? Yes, yes, yes. No?
Did we send a link again? And then I could get it posted.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me do that.
So you'll want to log into Miro and then use the template yourself. So because we don't want everyone working on the same one. So what you can do is,
Should I
You
share?
can duplicate them.
quickly, okay. Okay. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so when you log in, you can go to create a board. You can go show all, and then you can type in customer journey. And then you just use the template and it'll create a board for you for your own. So then I would suggest starting at the with the phases. Think through which phase is, you know, what the phases are for your customer journey. And then do the task. So just, it's being very slow, so I'm going to stop sharing. But yeah, rather than using the group board, go ahead and create your own using the template. Actually, RJ, let's just have everyone stay in here for the next 10 minutes or so and start working on theirs. We don't need to send them to the breakouts. We'll just kind of have a quiet 10 minutes. And if anyone has a question, just let us know. All right, so start with the phases. And as a random note, one of the things that I find helpful when even just thinking about like the different pieces is like how you can piss off your customer. Obviously we're not going to, that's not the goal. The goal is to give them good solutions. But like when I think about when I go shopping, like, okay, so what's like, I need a cart that works. And if the wheel of the cart is broken and it like screeches and stops the whole time, that's really annoying. And so, you know, you want a working cart. I don't know if I wouldn't have thought of something going wrong that I would have ever thought of, oh, I need a working cart as like one of my tasks. So it's sometimes helpful to think through that, or think through like if it's too long, you know, or if, you know, you can't find the price on anything. So thinking through some of the things that might be like areas that would upset people can sometimes help you figure out also the task that they're trying to get done. So Diana, you've probably like had lots of clients by this point, so you probably know the things that make them happy, the things that you hear that they've experienced with other people that make them upset. And so you can build those into those tasks and those like emotions and things that you've learned into your customer journey. So and like Ashley, you might want to consider the different people in your organization that they like interact with at each phase, because that you have more than just you. So that might be something that you want to include on your customer journey map.
So before I include the people, I just kind of write out the steps of what it would take. Like for instance, I have like view our website, the tour, an application, registration, child enrollment, parent app download, class dojo download. And then I start getting into pictures of child interactions and engagement, parent involvement. Then I put parent conflict in there because I know it's going to come. Conflict resolution.
So
but
I love these. I would say that some of the I would create a little bit broader of phases that incorporate a few, like maybe the consideration phase or the
Okay.
evaluation phase. And so that would be like the finding, you know, finding out about you and doing the tour and those different things. And then the registration phase and like the getting ready for, you know, getting ready for the first like drop off or whatever, and what that
Gotcha.
looks like.
Okay.
So that way you have a little bit broader of phases in there with those specific tasks underneath. But I love how you broke down all of the, yeah, that was really good how you broke down the different things that they're going to be trying to accomplish and thought through like the different pieces.
Okay, so then so I go back. So once I do the steps, then I go back and put in detail for like phase 1 of the tour, and then phase 2 of enrollment. Is that what you're saying? Just trying to make sure I understand.
So yeah, so I would do like consideration, and during like consideration, and like registration, enrollment, those as your phases, your top phases. So the names of your columns. And then what like the specific tasks are underneath that. So during that like consideration phase, what information are they trying to discern? What task are they trying to do? So they're probably trying to take a tour. They want the information about the like the safety information, those sorts of things. And then under the registration one, you're going to want to write out the different tasks that are specific to that stage. So under the registration, it's like probably like filling out forms, understanding the rules, and like what happened.
Gotcha, like the parent handbook. Gotcha.
Yep. So you're breaking it into those columns with a big header and then the specific task underneath. And then down at the bottom, after you do that, you can do like the emotional journey, like that, like up and down of how they're feeling throughout it. Like they're probably feeling really nervous the first time they drop off their kid, or they could, I don't know. I mean, if I was a mom.
Normally it's emotional, like we have parents crying before the kids cry. So calling all day long, trying to see how they're doing, that type of stuff. So
yep. So build that in, like put that emotional roller coaster. And then when they get to see like, the crafts and get to see the activities, like how that's like probably a high for them.
Right.
Yep. All right. Anyone else want to kind of talk through it as they're working on it?
Now, in the past, Katie, when I've done customer journey maps, we've also included customers that are on the fence. So they would be interested, but then they kind of like, if you don't engage with them and while they're trying to decide, they may look somewhere else. So
Right.
That would apply.
So that's something to remember is that, on these customer journey maps, the customer can say adios at some point if they're unhappy. So it's important to keep, like, not to let them emotionally go too low. The way to keep them is by successfully like addressing those small tasks that they need to accomplish, by managing their emotional journey, by meeting their expectations. So you should also have expectations in here as well. If I'm trying to go apartment shopping and there's not a single picture of the apartment, I'm out. I don't care. I'm just out. I'm not going to call someone and ask for it. I'm just gone. You just lost me, right? So there's certain things that, you want to meet those expectations, or else people will leave. And that can happen throughout the whole customer journey. I mean, that could happen towards the end, like, say Diana like gave someone some terrible hair thing and they were like, oh my God, I'm never coming back, right? I don't think you would, Diana. I'm just saying that, things can, you can lose people at different parts of the process. And ideally, most of our businesses, we want people to return. We want them to be someone who comes back, brings their kids back, books a hair appointment again. Or tells someone else, spreads that word of mouth. So we want them to be a repeat person who enjoys the experience, who enjoys the product or the service. How's everyone doing? Any questions? Bernard, how are you feeling about this?
Just digesting it.
Okay. Paul, how's it going for your kids as they're traveling through your journey map, or are you doing it for the parents?
Actually, it might be a good one. I think I'm actually going to target more of the parents piece. So then it's more so me talking to the parents for them connecting to the child.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be helpful to do both. I think the
Mhm.
parents are a pretty critical piece of that one, so. Elizabeth, what about you? Are you choosing to do, I know you have different kinds of customers, the different kind of care levels, and where are you focusing? Are you focusing on the people who want more or less?
I am focusing on the average person. So right now I'm working through stage 1 of just them understanding that they have a need, and then like visiting our website and reviewing our services. I have like their thought process. It would be something like, does this company offer the services that we need? Or how does this company work with customers? What are other people saying about them? And then I'm working over into stage 2 with, them going from that to making a decision to book a consultation, actually like having that consultation, and then like understanding what their needs are versus the services that are available. And then kind of like, I'm not sure if that's the same space that I want to put like make a decision, but I feel like that is that second part of it where they make that decision. And the third part is actually moving into the services. So I broke it down like what they're doing before they even book a consultation, understanding their needs, visiting our site for our services, and then what they're doing once they make that first contact, and then what the decision is afterwards. And that third section, I think, is where I could also put in, well, even the second section could be where, like what RJ was saying, having those people where they're on the fence about it, they're not sure. They get their contract, it sits for like 60 days before they make a decision. Those client, that level of it too can be put in there as well. And then, so I think that would be more in stage 2, but stage 3 would be like they decided they're moving forward with us and this is what we're doing here. So that's how I'm kind of breaking it out.
I love that. It sounds like you are on track and doing an awesome job. Skylar, how's it going for you? How are you breaking it down?
I'm definitely just trying to break down the different age groups, because they're like, we kind of talked about this in our one-on-one, but like I found it to be kind of difficult trying to understand, like, or I found myself saying that like everyone can eat it, but you're right, like babies can't eat it. So I have to like, but still trying to separate how the different consumer experiences based off of age group will drastically impact how I will target them, and how those different types of experiences can be played out. So I kind of talked about how like Jake found the gum through like an Instagram ad or something like that, because it's more targeted towards the college student age, as opposed to potentially like parents or working adults, maybe doing even like a LinkedIn post or some sort of like Facebook targeted ad or something of that nature, in order to meet the different demographics. So I'm kind of just like working through that.
Okay, and don't forget to, I know you probably just haven't gotten there yet, but don't forget to do that, like the experience of like, putting it in their mouth and chewing it and the effects of it, and what that, like, include that in the customer journey map as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure to add that actually.
All right, you guys, we are at the end of class. We have 1 minute left. Do we have any? So this is the assignment, and please spend the time on it to really understand and really break it down, because this is huge. This is, I think this is one of the most important pieces for coming up with a really well thought out, really good comprehensive solution with like little solutions in there too. So please take the time to do this assignment. This is very practical and very much plays into next week where we'll start, or yeah, later this week and next week where we start to do storyboarding and also prototyping. So if you have any questions or need any help, please reach out to me or RJ. We are here to support you. And anything before we close it down for the night? Any last comments or questions?
I do want to add, if anyone's having a hard time with this assignment, you might need to take it back a couple steps and really review your user scenarios. Because if you don't really understand who your users are, it's going to be really hard to outline what their journey is going to be like. So if if you're kind of struggling a little bit, try to take some time to really understand who your customer is, and that should help guide you along.
Yep, that's a great point. If you are struggling at this phase, go back to those initial like empathy and define stages, and because those are the groundwork for this. So, all right, RJ, excellent parting words of advice. All right, everyone. Well, we will see you on Wednesday. And good luck. And like I said, reach out to us if you need any help at all. We're happy to think through it with you and map it out with you. So
yes, ma'am. Good night,
all right.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Be
you
ready
all.
to
Have a great
turn
night.
out cameras on Wednesday.